Good afternoon and welcome to this week's Gwladys Beat podcast. I'm Dawn and today I'm joined with Mike and Steve. All right, guys, how are you?
All good, thanks.
You didn't sound very happy you won yesterday. I think before we get back, we get into talking about the game yesterday. Just wondering, obviously fans were back in stadiums and it's been a long time since the stadiums have been full. Just wondering, Steve, what was your experience like yesterday?
Emotional. It was. I looked around me and especially when the siren went, I could see people. There were grown men crying. It was emotional. I had a bit of a lump in my throat myself as well. You know what I mean? And I was fortunate to attend the Wolves game, but no, it was great. It was just to see all the old guys, and thank God they were still there with us. You know, you were expecting who's not here, who's not going to turn up, or there's an empty seat there, but it wasn't. It was great to see all the old guys in the upper Bullens where I sit. Yeah, it was just emotional, and it was fantastic.
What about you, Mike?
Yeah, like I was saying, to my mate yesterday, it sort of felt like we'd never been away. Like just sitting down just felt like the most natural thing in the world after a year of watching football with no fans in, and it wasn't really football, was it? You see the emotion when Decore scored yesterday, and the fans on the pitch and everything, and it's a completely different game, isn't it, compared to when you're just playing training games behind closed doors. So yeah, it was great to be back. Who knows how long we'll still be there for, before Bramley Moor is built. So yeah, just made up to be back, really. Got me half-time pie as well for the first time in 18 months. So well worth it.
How's the heartburn then?
Still recovering.
We see the options in the options for beer or whatever haven't improved much, have they?
No.
We've been doing something about that. Well, we haven't been there. I
went down and I had no Carlin left, so I had to swig a cider at half time to take the edge off when we were 1-0 down. But that was hoping for some Moretti.
So you mentioned the siren before, Steve, and also Zed cars. I think there was a few people. I didn't see anyone crying by me, but there was a few people you could tell hair standing on end, and it was quite emotional. Yeah. What did you think about them welcoming Benitez? Because there's a few people sceptical whether they do that before the game, obviously to do with all the controversy of his appointment. Did you clap yourself, and were you surprised by the reaction?
I didn't clap, no, I'm going to be honest with you, but I didn't boo. There was a few around me who did boo. Some never even stood up when, they just, I don't know. It was, I'm glad he got a reception in the end. I'm glad that we didn't embarrass the club by booing him completely, I was one who didn't want him. As the manager, but as it stands, we've got him now. He's our manager, Rafa de Gaffer, and we've Everton Football Club's going to be here long after he's gone. So get behind him.
Yeah. What about you, Mike? Did you?
I clapped. Yeah, I think I was sort of in a similar boat to Steve. I didn't want him, not necessarily even based on the Liverpool connection. Just. I didn't think he was necessarily the right fit at the time for the club, but as Steve said, he's the manager now, and there's enough to be down about, with supporting Everton without having to boo the manager and make it toxic for him, because he's got a job to do. The players have got a job to do, and basically, if he goes on to get a Champions League finish or wins a trophy, then I don't think anyone will care. To be honest, it's if he's successful, then everyone will get behind it eventually. So I just thought you might as well clap. There was no one booing around me, to be honest. You got quite a either neutral to positive reception everywhere around me. I mean, yeah, it is what it is, isn't it? At the end of the day, we've started with a win, so hopefully it carries on that way.
Yeah, I think again, I could hear the boos in the stadium. I think the claps outweighed the boos. There was no one by me booing, but I did clap. but I sort of gritted my teeth at the same time. So reluctant to clap him for the same reasons. His sort of win rate's not amazing, so he wouldn't have been my choice. But based on his history and sort of what he's brought to other clubs, he's obviously very thick-skinned. At Chelsea, they didn't want him, and he brought them silverware. Just wondering what you both think about what if he could change one thing about the Everton side over the past few years, what would it be that that he's brought to other sides in the past?
Forward attacking football. I mean, I know he's known as a bit of a negativity, but I don't know. It was nice to see forward passes yesterday on the floor, going forward, getting crosses in. Whereas, and that's what I was screaming out for last year with the dross we had to put up with Ancelotti, because that was just negative, backwards, boring. We were one of the most boring teams in the league to watch, going backwards constantly. So that's what I've been craving for, is getting forwards, getting the crosses into that Calvert-Lewin and the Richarlison, and it worked yesterday. So yeah, I'm happy with that.
I think both of the forward players are both very good with their head, aren't they? And particularly Calvert-Lewin. So it frustrated me so much last season, and in years gone by, with that sort of, I suppose, trying to play a bit of a tiki-taka style of football, getting into wide areas and then passing it out, and you end up back at Pickford before long. So I think there's nothing better than seeing an overlapping fullback run down the wing and whipping across, because I think that's where we'll get the most joy, and that's where we got the most joy, for a long time last season. So it looks like we're trying to play to our strengths, which is a good thing. And you can see very clearly that Townsend's job yesterday, for what it was worth, was basically to get the ball, knock it out his feet, and get the ball in the box with varying levels of success. But with having him and Gray down on the right and left, I think that little bit of pace and that injection of, taking on a man, beating him 1v1, I think that was quite good to see, to be honest, rather than like Bernie, who doesn't really have that pace, trying to cut back inside and pass it round. So hopefully more of the same from that respect.
Yeah, apparently we put 17 crosses in yesterday, and our average last season was 12. So, like you say, positive in the right direction. Sorry, Steve, you're going to say something? No,
I'm just saying, if you asked me if I could change one thing, we still haven't got a leader at the back. We knew last year we were vulnerable at the back, but we still haven't got a leader who's commanding the back line. I know someone who's shouting all the time at the back line, talking to them. We still haven't got that. Keane and Holgate are so silent, and it showed yesterday. It showed you like the two of them were like rabbits in the headlights for their first goal.
Yeah.
So if they could change something, I'd just like to bring a new centre back in, who's a leader, who's angry, who never shuts up. One of them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the one thing that I would like them to bring is a mentality shift, because and that's part of the leadership thing, when the chips are down, there's no one sort of grabbing the game by the horns, encouraging people and stuff like that. And I thought our work rate was better yesterday. And I think like the likes of James, I know there was issues between him and Benitez at Real Madrid, but if we're working harder, and Benitez said we're fitter than we were last season, then maybe that's part of the reason why James he doesn't want him.
Yeah. It's the luxury we can't afford, really, isn't it? You know what I mean? If you've got Alan, who's probably one of the slowest players in the league, but he's a grafter, so you need legs around him. And if you've got James around him, who's not running, who can't put a tackle in himself, it makes Alan's job twice as hard. I mean, I always go back, I've said this before, I compare Alan to Peter Reid as our Peter Reid, but he had likes of Bracewell, Sheedy, and Stephen around him, who had the brains, who had the legs. And I think that's what we need. I think we just need someone, possibly Gabba minutes when he gets a chance, but someone who can just back up to Corday up a bit more. Just because he's going to if he's going to be the main runner in the midfield this year, and I know he's younger than Alan, but he's going to get burnt out. So you need another set of legs in there with him.
Yeah, definitely. And sort of touching on Gbamin, he wasn't in the squad yesterday, and obviously we were told there was a number of players isolating. We thought at first the likes of Keane and James, well, they're potentially off, aren't they? But then when we heard the likes of Godfrey in there, Virginia, Gbamin, Gomez, and obviously Gylfi's in absence at the moment, sort of that had a big impact on who he could start. So what's your thoughts on the starting lineup he played yesterday? Do you think he got it right, or would there be anything that you would change?
I think with the players he had available, the only change I'd probably make would be maybe Mina in for Holgate. Probably, I thought at times Holgate obviously had a decent season. Was it 2 years ago when he got Players Player, and since then he just doesn't seem to have really kicked on. I think there was times yesterday where he was getting out jumped by even Adam Armstrong. Looked stronger than him and more willing to chase the ball. And I think him and Keane, I think when they make a mistake, between them they just look quite fragile. There was a 10-minute period in the first half after the goal where they were so indecisive. Neither of them were making a call, and we could have, against a better team, we could have conceded another 1 or 2 goals there, which you can't really afford to do. I think Mina's probably defensively a bit more solid and gives you that. But aside from that, we played to exactly what I thought Benitez would go with, which is the wingers, a sort of 4-4-2, 4-5-1, out of possession. And I think in general it worked well. First half we didn't click, but you saw second half when he shifted Gray and Richarlison around. There's definitely, we got at them a lot more, and we're definitely the better team in the second half.
What about you, Steve? Would you have changed anything? And what did you think? Like Mike says about the error for the goal. Was it Keane? Was it Holgate? Was it both of them?
It was Keane. Yeah, I mean, I'm totally with Mike on this, by the way, 100%. But everything what Mike says is exactly what I would have said myself. I don't know, Keane and Holgate, it just doesn't work. They're not vocal enough. They don't seem to gel. They don't seem to know how each other plays. Whereas you're always waiting for a mistake from either Keane or Holgate, and you seen Keane yesterday, and then when he lost the ball, you seen Holgate just standing there looking at him, and then Che Adams come in, just put his toe past him, and then bingo after. But I don't know. They're not the partnership I want to see at Everton. I think it's time to move Holgate on. I don't know. You got Godfrey coming in, who's going to take his position eventually. I still have my doubts over Godfrey as well. I know I'll get slaughtered over this, but I think his decision making at times is very irrational. Some of his clearances, and I just think to myself, you've got a chance to play a ball of field, and the one on the States, he just let it run under his foot and run out. And I'm thinking, so what are you doing that for? He's been caught on the wrong side a few times. So he's a work in progress. He's going to be a fantastic player. But again, it's just his decision making at the time. I'm a little bit dubious with him. But that'll come. That'll come with age and maturity. But sorry, no, Keane and Holgate, not for me.
Yeah, I agree with both. Yeah, I mean, like Mike said a few seasons ago, Holgate for me was probably our best centre half, and based on last season, he's our worst centre half. And he's got the swagger, he's got the little diamond earring and all that. I think he's more interested in being a footballer than playing football. I would have started Mina, and I think I agree with you about Godfrey. When we went to Old Trafford the other week, everyone was saying Godfrey's our best centre half, and he's work in progress, like you say. His decision making, he doesn't press a ball well. He's not good in the air. He's got other strengths, he's fast, strong, and great tackler. But yeah, I agree. We need a leader at the back. And Holgate was rumoured to be going somewhere else, wasn't he? I'm not sure what club.
Brighton. I think were rumoured with it, but who knows? Who knows whether that was just because Ben White, the Ben White money was burning a hole in the pocket, so the rumour mill was in full force, wasn't it? But I think it's really difficult to shift players now, isn't it? As we're finding, even Moise Keane, James, players that usually you'd find a buyer for, unless someone sold someone for big money to Arsenal, City, Chelsea. I don't think anyone's got the money knocking around to go and spend 15 million or 20 million on centre half, which presumably we want for Holgate as quite a young first team regular Premier League player. But yeah, I think that's what we found, isn't it? Basically, really difficult to shift anyone and generate funds.
Yeah. I think the next 10 days in the transfer window is going to be really frantic. I'm hoping we shift a few. It won't be being one of them. Who actually done okay when he come on yesterday.
He did. I was thinking of you, Steve, when he came on and started pulling the strings in the midfield. But I think everyone had the same reaction though to him coming on. I think everyone just shook their head, didn't they, when they saw Iwobi stripping off? But give him his dues. He did actually seem to create quite a bit, didn't he? He ran at players, and if you can do that consistently, then I think there's a decent player in there, because he does try and move the ball forward, but it's just so frustrating, isn't it, when he plays like that, and then next week he looks like he's never seen a football before. So
yeah, I was banned at Old Trafford from slagging him off, basically. So yesterday when he come on, it was more like, "Come on, Alex, come on." And I think he did all right, because I give him positive love from the stands. So if you look at yesterday's game, what were the positives in terms of things that we did? You've obviously said crossing and stuff like that. Is there anything else in sort of any players that you think were outstanding quality or whatever yesterday?
There was a few yesterday. I thought Seamus Coleman was fantastic. Thought Richarlison worked his socks off. And Zakore, thought they all worked. But what was nice to see, especially in the second half, is we picked up every second ball, every loose ball. We seemed to be first to get to it. Whereas last year, we were standing around waiting for the opposition to pick the second ball up. But we seemed to be right onto it. Plus, we were hunting in packs. There was a few occasions there where there was 2 or 3 Everton players when hunting the ball and we come away with it. And that was nice to see, because, again, under Ancelotti, we'd had retreated, got every man behind the ball and just let them come at us. But it was nice to get in the faces yesterday and go and start winning the possession back. And especially DCL, chasing, if he lost the ball, he was chasing back, trying to get it back, which I've been a huge critic of him in the past, for not fighting back when he loses a ball, just walking back.
Yeah.
And it worked yesterday. And Mr. Grumpy here come out with a smile on his face for the change.
Oh my days. What about you, Mike?
I think the players that Steve mentioned I thought Richarlison was exceptional. I thought you could tell early doors that I thought anything positive was probably going to come from him. He was the spark. I thought their right back, the Livramento, had a good game, to be honest. I thought he did really well, but I think when he shifted into the middle in the second half for Richarlison, you could see a noticeable difference. But I thought Damari Gray did really well, to be honest, as well. Yeah. We've spent a lot more money on players who have had a lot less of an impact, and not looked capable of having an impact, whereas he knocked a few really good crosses in yesterday. I thought he carried the ball well. There was that one chance where he sort of ran through and could, tried to square it and sort of put it into the keeper's arms, which that's where the frustration is going to come. I think that probably is the difference between going and paying 20 million for someone and having Damari Gray, who's still probably a bit of a work in progress, but there was definitely something to work with, I thought. And he looks like he could be quite an interesting player for relatively low risk as well going forward.
I did like Andros Townsend's corners as well. I thought they whipped in with pace. I thought when you could see the difference when Luca Dean took a few in the second half, never made the first man. But then some of Townsend's in the first half, they were whipped in. They were lovely balls, and you could see Calvert-Lewin was licking his lips at them, and especially the cross that Damari Gray put in the first half. So long may it continue.
Yeah, I think it's great to see a baller with who can play with both feet.
Yeah.
Because Townsend can lift him in with his left or his right, can't he?
Yeah.
I think that's great.
I thought for all the grief we've given him, to be fair, Michael Keane second half did what he's good at. That sort of back to the walls defending that he did at Burnley. because I think Gineppo had Coleman a couple of times, just them little triangles where, maybe we're getting a bit leggy, and Gineppo got to the byline, and Keane at that near post sort of blocked it off a few times, which was quite important, really, because I think that was when we were maybe 2-1 up or 1-1, and they were really pushing for a goal. So I'll give him his dues for that bit. I don't think he's the answer, but he did his basics right yesterday, which worked second half. I can let him off first half.
I think as well, like that what happened with the first goal. I think, like, if you look at it, Keane all day, if you look at him when he receives the ball, he's got loads of time on it. He's got space. He could literally walk between their two players with the ball and take it out. But Holgate's angles are all wrong. He's obviously not talking to him, and just like Steve said, having a leader at the back who's going to command it, and whether that's Mina or there's rumours again today about Koulibaly, then whoever it is, someone just needs to come in and
yeah.
I really enjoyed yesterday. I mean, there was at least one booking for it, but a few tasty tackles.
I'm amazed Alan didn't get booked. He had about 4 goals, didn't he? And still managed to get off with it. I think the ref passed them on the head at one point, didn't he? So I think they'd made mates. That was the only way he got off with it.
Who was that, Mike?
Alan.
Yeah. He had me panicking in the States. I was watching that first game against Millonarios, and I just thought, he's getting sent off here, because he was picking everything.
Yeah.
He was just whacking everyone.
I don't think he has any other mode, does he? I think it's go and attack people or nothing at all. But he breaks the play up, doesn't he? I don't think he had his best game, but he stays neat and tidy, isn't he, most of the time, and he gets stuck in, which we've lacked. I mean, without him, I don't think we have a tackle in the team most of the time, do we? So,
one thing I noticed with Alan, especially at Old Trafford, some of his passes were a bit wayward. And it happened again in the first half, only a couple of times. Turned it round in the second half. I thought he was great. His passes were to feet. He sort of got his game together. So I don't know whether it takes some time to get into it, but it's getting there. He's 30 years of age. He's been there. He's done it. You know what I mean? We just need to support him in the midfield and get legs around him. Yeah,
definitely. And Tokore's reaction for the goal. I mean,
fantastic.
Yesterday, he was the player that we bought, wasn't he? Apparently, Ancelotti wanted him to play a bit deeper, and Benitez has said to him, play your game, do what you did at Watford, and his reaction was great. And you've got a little story for that, haven't you, Steve, about...
I loved it. Yeah, loved it. Like, I'm sitting in the upper Bullens, when he scores, he comes running into the corner, and all the fans jump on the pitch. And one of the fans dropped his phone, and Seamus Coleman seen him drop it, picked his phone up, run after him and tapped him on the shoulder and sitting down, he gave him his phone back, and then the lad took a selfie with Seamus. And I just thought, that was fantastic, you know what I mean? So that's off to Seamus. I actually put it on our WhatsApp group this morning. Did anyone see it? And then this afternoon, the Echo have reported it. But it was, I just wish someone had it on camera, because that was priceless, you know what I mean? I just thought, the way he's connected with the fans, I mean, okay, yeah, he shouldn't have been on the pitch. But I'm not talking about Coleman, I'm talking about the fan. But the way he's connected, he's seen that. It reminded me of the Brian LeBone with the Eddie Cavana, when Eddie Cavana run on the pitch at Wembley, and Brian LeBone tried to stop the coppers throwing him out. And it was something not as good as that, but it was the way Seamus's reaction was. I just thought it was fantastic. So hats off to him. Loved it.
Yeah,
Made my day.
He's got a great relationship with the fans, hasn't he?
Yeah.
If you think
he
hates the 60 grand shout, doesn't he? He hates that song, but he'd come in for 60 grand. He's had loads of teams over the course of his career with us who wanted to buy him, like United or whatever.
Yeah.
He's just a nice fella, isn't he?
Yeah. But yeah, it was great. And Tokoré, I mean, the goal nearly broke the back of the net as well, didn't it? But
I've been waiting for one.
I don't get this. Why, when they pull the shirt off when they score, because they know they're going to get booked. Why don't they have another shirt on underneath? And he did, but I mean, another match shirt.
If you scored a hat trick, you'd have to come out like an onion, wouldn't you? You'd have about 10 shirts on.
Yeah, but will he still get booked because he's actually taking a shirt off?
Consensus, isn't
it? So obviously before the game there was the ticket fiasco, and obviously the digital tickets went out late. Some of the card tickets went out late. People were queuing up for hours trying to get on. Call the box office and get through. I know you tried quite a few times, Steve. What was your experience with the ticket, and both before the match and on the day?
On the day was fine. It was great. I mean, it was just straight in. The steward shows how to present me mobile, because I'm digital, by the way, believe it or not. Because I hit the wrong button. I wanted a plastic one, but I'll come back onto that in a bit. It was great. No problem, straight in. The problem was beforehand when I was a month ago, I tried to change my digital ticket to a plastic and I was told that I was too late. Then they've opened the window and then trying to call the box office for 2 days solid. I just give up in the end. I got through once and it said you're number 96 in the queue. Just put the phones down. But that's Everton, you know.
Yeah.
You can't use the excuse of COVID now or everyone's working from home. But hopefully they'll have an amnesty where anyone want a plastic card, come down and get one.
Yeah, I mean, I wondered if they'd have a VIP entrance for the people with the plastic cards because we have to pay more. But what did you opt for, Mike? Because I got called a fossil by Steve for opting for cards.
I agree with Steve. To be honest, I've gone digital. I think save the planet and all that. Keep the plastic out to sea. I was never in doubt, was it? I mean, we're so good at technology as a club. The streams are always working pre-season. I thought no question of it. But no, it was fine. Obviously, it was a bit stressful when it was delayed, and you thought, oh, this is going to be a nightmare, isn't it? Especially when Liverpool were having problems with their friendlies as well. That was just a bad omen. But got there on the day and it was easy, wasn't it? There was hardly any queues either, because I think a lot of people would staggered their arrival time in anticipation of the
absolutely.
So long may it continue.
I think it was 10 to 3 I got there. We left town at 2:30. I got there at 10 to 3.
Yeah, I was on the ground at 2:30. It was the earliest I've ever been there, I think.
Yeah.
I was in there quite early. I had 2 drinks in there, so I must have been in there fairly early. And they had no wine. I mean, first game of the season, no wine. That's not great.
Very classy.
So obviously, we've got Leeds away next week, and Leeds took a hiding against United at the weekend. What are your thoughts on? I'm not sure if you saw the game, saw the highlights. To go to you first, Mike. What are you thinking about Leeds? Was it just a bad day at the office? Were United just far better on the day? What you thought?
The first thing I thought was it makes our 4-0 in pre-season look a little bit more respectable, doesn't it? But I think United are a good team, to be honest. I don't really think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a great manager, but if you look at their front four and what they've got on the bench, and Paul Pogba when he fancies it is absolutely world class. So I think Man U will do that to teams this season. They'll go and get beat by someone that they shouldn't lose to, and then they'll go and knock someone for 5 or 6. But whether you can read into that massively, I'm not sure. But it's going to be a massive season for Leeds, isn't it? Second season syndrome type thing, because obviously they were up for it last year. It's whether Rafinha's head's still in it. Can Bamford go and score 15, 20 goals again? But it's going to be a really difficult game, isn't it? They're always ultra fit. And if you don't match them for energy, then they'll beat you essentially. So hopefully a nice early goal might knock them. Ellen Road's going to be lively as well, isn't it? With first game in the Premiership with fans. So hopefully we can keep the crowd quiet. Nice early goal and hopefully kick on from there.
So touching on what Mike's just said, Steve, Benitez reckons we're fitter than we were last season, and Leeds are obviously a very fit team. Do you think we can match them? Do you think they'll give us any problems?
I just hope we don't get attacked by a wounded bear. There's many teams where, like Liverpool, when they got done over by Villa, 6-2. Still laugh at that.
7-2 it was, Steve.
7-2, sorry. Yeah. 7-2.
Even better.
Yeah. I just hope, we don't get the backlash from Leeds, but we can match them. We went to Ellen Road last year, even under the dross we were playing with Carlo. We matched them, and that was one of the only games where we upped our tempo of the game, and we were chasing. And at the end of the game, Calvert-Lewin turned around and said, "That's my type of game." He was begging for Everton to play a fast game of football, and we played them down here at Goodison, and man, they walked to us. They literally walked to us because we were so unfit. But yeah, they looked fitter yesterday. They looked fitter. I think we can go there and get stuck into them, and that's what I've always said. Don't let these teams bully us anymore. We've rolled over and let them tickle our bellies for far too long. These teams, so just let's get stuck into them.
Yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? Sort of, you touch on the fitness, and you look at us last season, and we weren't as fit as they were, and we sort of we got embroiled in their game rather than ours. So I think whoever we play, we just need to try and play our own game. It is good that we are fitter than we were. So, Mike, you mentioned about Leeds second season syndrome. They haven't reinforced much, have they? They've got Jack Harrison. He's on a permanent deal now, isn't he? And I think they brought maybe one or two others in and recalled a couple of loans, but they haven't really strengthened, have they?
No, that's the problem, isn't it? Because last season everything was so, as you see so often, everything was so exciting, and no one really knew what they were going to get from a Bielsa team either. So it's whether they can replicate that this season after a full year of everyone sort of scouting them, seeing what they've got. Everyone knows now that Rafinha is their danger man, essentially. If you double up on him, then you've got to obviously try and mark Calvin Phillips out the game as well, or whoever's playing in that holding role, because that's where they dictate play from. So it's whether you can do that, it's whether you can counter that with the sort of system that we're playing, or whether you need to go a more heavy in the middle of the park. But since Benitez has come in, everyone's been saying he's meticulous and thorough in everything he does. So hopefully we go into it, even if it's a slightly different setup, but hopefully he's got a plan, for how to negate whatever they're doing, while still giving us that freedom to attack down the wings and play our own game, as you say.
What we've got to be careful of as well is Bamford. He's good at it. He peels off and he arcs his runs behind the back four. And with Keane and Holgate, especially if they do play, we've got to be really careful over that. And Holgate's quick and Keane's not too bad, but it's their awareness. They've got to be aware, and I don't think they're tactically aware of people making runs in behind them. Yeah. So Bamford, if you watch Leeds over the fast, that's what Bamford does. You see him arcing his run like Ian Rush used to do, come round the back four, and he was through. We've got to be careful of that on Saturday.
Yeah. So do we risk having a little prediction then on what we think the score would be?
I got last week's prediction right, by the way. I said 3-1, didn't I?
You did.
They didn't put me money where my mouth was, though. I meant to put it on yesterday and then realised that full time I hadn't put it on. I was fuming. But,
go on, you go first then. So you got the weeks right.
Yeah, right. I'll go 2-1 this week. I think I'm slightly less ambitious, but I'll go 2-1 to the Blues. If this comes in, I'm starting a Tipster Twitter account as well, by the way.
What about you, Steve?
I'm going for the 1-1 draw.
Really?
I'd love us to win. Love us to beat them. But I'm going for the 1-1 draw. If I'm being honest, 1-1 draw. Failing that, I'll piggyback with Mike and go for 2-1. I just think we'll go. And looking at the way Newcastle played last year, not last year, the year before with Rafa, he had a couple of banks in front of the goal, didn't he? He was very defensive away from home last with Newcastle, and I don't know whether it'd be interesting to see how he sets us up.
Yeah, I mean, you'd assume like the squad that we've got better than Newcastle's, but I get what you're saying. Playing a bit more defensive away from home. I tend to agree with Mike, I think, because I'd like to think we've got more than they have, but I never think we can keep a clean sheet. So I think, 2-1 is possibly where I'd put my money as well. So before we wrap it up anyway, we've just got a couple of comments. Ian, who's commented a few times, just said it was a good win for us yesterday, which it was. We've got Mads on. He watched the highlights from Australia, and it was great to see it all come together in the second half. Come on, you Blues. And Joey 11, that's got a smiley face. So just hello to you guys, and thanks for watching. Anything else that we've missed for this week? Any plans or anything you'd like to see before the weekend?
Few
I'd like to see another couple of signings, yeah, just to give us a lift. It looks like I've just been reading there before that Aurelio Baku, is it from Uten, from Antwerp, is it? Yeah. So that looks like it's going ahead. Looks like Virginia's got on his way back to Sporting with a loan to buy. But I'm gutted we missed out on Denzel Dumfries. I'm absolutely gutted about that.
Has he gone now?
Yeah, absolutely gutted about that. I just like another midfielder in a ball carrying midfielder. That's what we're missing. That's what I was trying to say before. I mean, everyone shudders when I mentioned Ross Barkley. I don't mean to go and get him, but that type of player who can carry the ball forward, and run into the box with the ball.
Yeah.
I think we're just a little bit short in that department. And a centre half. We need a leader.
Yeah. And possibly another centre forward if Moise Keane's going. What about you, Mike? What's your?
We're not asking for much, are we? A centre half, a centre mid, a centre forward, a right back,
a new spine.
A new team, please. I mean, I think we could do it. It depends who comes and goes, doesn't it? I think the squad is reasonably strong if we're going all steam ahead for next year. But I'd just like to see a few people to freshen it up. I saw Matthew Hopp, from Schalke today. He's a young player. I think this season's probably going to be a few of them. Low risk, young signings who hopefully will make an impact. I think that's better than going and spending 25 million on David Klassen, for example. So hopefully a few new faces, freshen it up, and hopefully a few of them come good.
Yeah. We offload a bit of the dross that we've got. A few players that have, Benitez has already said they've got no future.
Yeah. It won't be.
I don't think he's going anywhere, is he? He's featured.
Marcel Brands has told him you've got to play him because it makes me look foolish paying 35 million for him.
Well, there's a few players you could say that about.
He's got to be one of the best I've seen. But, enough.
Well, good to start the season with a win at home, and we were so
great stuff
last season, and we haven't been to Ellen Road for a while, have we? So it would be nice to get our first away win of the season. So hopefully we're smiling next week as well. So that's all from the podcast this week. Thanks to Steve and thanks to Mike, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.
Yes, bye.